Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on exercise 3.3 break-even analysis. Here you'll see the exercise replicated for us, and we're looking at Babycakes Company, which is a bakery that creates personalized birthday cakes. The cakes sell for $56, and here we have a contribution margin income statement for a typical month. Okay, the first question they're asking us is, what is their contribution margin per unit? All right, so we have two choices to calculate the contribution margin per unit. We can either take the selling price per unit and subtract variable costs per unit, or we can take the total contribution margin and we can divide it by the number of units sold. Okay. So in this case, we're given the total contribution margin, so let's find out how many units were sold. The only unit information we're given is the selling price per unit, the $56. So let's use that. We know our sales are $840,000, and we know our selling price per unit is $56. I'll put this over here so we have the decimals, $56. Okay, so we know we're going to take these two and divide them to find out how many units we sold. So we get 15,000 units. Okay, so now that we know that we sold 15,000 units, we can take our total contribution margin of 210,000. We're going to divide that by the number of units we sold, 15,000, and we find out that our contribution margin per unit is $14. So that's the answer to part A. Okay, in part B, they want to know the monthly break-even point in units. Okay, let's recall and write down our break-even in units formula. It's equal to, fixed costs divided by contribution margin per unit. Okay, so let's take our fixed costs, 112,000. We're going to divide by contribution margin per unit of 14, and we get 8,000 units. So we know that in order to break even, we need to sell 8,000 units. Okay. Next, they want to know, what is Babycakes' contribution margin ratio? So we have two choices to calculate that using either the total contribution margin and total sales, or contribution margin per unit and selling price per unit. So let's do both. All right, so our total contribution margin divided by total sales, I'm going to divide those. Okay, so our total contribution margin is equal to 210,000. Our total sales, 840,000. Okay, so this is equal to 210 divided by the 840, and we get 25%. Okay, so as an alternative, let's use our unit prices. So we can take CM per unit, and we can divide it by selling price per unit. A lot of times in these problems, there are a number of different ways to go about solving the problem. Okay, so our contribution margin per unit is $14. Our selling price per unit is $56. Let's put some lines here so we understand that we're dividing. Okay, so now we're going to put this equal to our contribution margin per unit divided by our selling price per unit, and again we get 25%. Okay, finally we need to calculate break even in sales dollars. Again, we have two choices. First, we can use the formula for break even in sales dollars. Break even in sales dollars is equal to fixed costs divided by the contribution margin percentage. Since we just calculated our contribution margin percentage to be 25%, we can divide our fixed costs by our contribution margin percentage. So break even sales will be equal to these divided by one another, or $448,000. An alternative way to find break even in sales dollars is to multiply the break even in units times the selling price. Recall that break even units were 8,000. And our selling price per unit is $56. And so if we multiply these two, we're going to get the same answer, $448,000. Break even sales. Okay, so that's the end of exercise 3.3. I hope you find this useful in your studies.